Welcome back to Joy Recaps, Movie Stories Recapped here. Today, I'm going to recap an American thriller horror film called Annabelle. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. A church is shown at the beginning of the film where a father is preaching. There are two couples in this sermon, Mr. and Mrs. Higgins and John and his wife Mia. They are all four driving home from church in their car. Mia, John's wife, is expecting a child. Before entering the house, Mia tells John that they would not have told Mr. and Mrs. Higgins about their impending baby because their daughter has been missing for 2 years. When John hears Mia, he mocks her, claiming she is not missing but has fled with Hippus. At night, John and Mia are talking to each other. Then, as a surprise, John gives Mia an Annabelle doll. At midnight, while John and Mia are sleeping, some crying sounds are heard from Mr. and Mrs. Higgins' house. Mia's awakening also awakens John, and as a result, John pays a visit to Mr. and Mrs. Higgins. When John emerges from their home, he appears concerned and his dress is blood-stained. Going inside, John tells Mia that it is not his blood and asks her to call an ambulance. Mia summons an ambulance. Then she comes across a girl in Annabelle doll's room who has taken Annabelle doll into her lap, and she moves to scare Mia. At the same time, a man appears on her backside. He injures her severely with a knife. Meanwhile, John shows up. He attacks and hits that person while saving Mia. As a result, the knife has fallen away from his grasp. That girl chose the knife, but before she attacks Mia, John drags her to the wall and catches her. He makes every effort to take the knife from that girl. At the same time, that man arrives and attacks John, injuring him. That girl flees and locks herself in a room. But before either party suffers any further loss, the police arrive. That man is killed by police. Following that, police officers moved to that room and apprehended the girl. As they open the door, they notice she has committed suicide by severing her throat. The awkward thing is that when that girl commits suicide, Annabelle doll is also in her lap at the time. As a result, more than 2 drops of blood have fallen on the face of Annabelle doll. A huge secret is revealed here. Jenny's, Annabelle's creation, is the girl in question. Mr. and Mrs. Higgins have taken her in. Mia, on the other hand, is hospitalized and receiving treatment. Mia and her unborn child are safe, but the night incident makes her nervous. While John tries to comfort her, she is more concerned about the potential harm to her unborn child as a result of this. At midnight, Mia and John are sleeping, but after hearing a noise, John goes to investigate. He is taken aback to discover that the electric stitching machine has begun to work automatically. John turns it off and checks another room. He also visits the doll's room, where the fallen Annabelle doll can be found near the door. John places the Annabelle doll on a chair after picking it up. Mia is not pleased to see that doll the next day. She also informs John that this doll was in her lap when that girl committed suicide, and we should get rid of this doll. John agrees with her and throws Annabelle into a trash barrel. Then, once, a detective pays a visit to Mia and John's home. He informs both of them Mr. and Mrs. Higgins were killed by their daughter and her friend. The detective informs them that they were members of a cult, and they had murdered in order to perfect their dark art. Mia is terrified after hearing this, and she begs the detective to keep her and John safe. Following that, John must travel out of town for 2 days on business. Mia is now alone at home. Then strange things start happening to her. First and foremost, Mia's sewing hand is injured. The stove is then automatically lit, igniting the entire kitchen. Mia attempts to flee as the fire is extinguished. Then a supernatural force pulls her backward, catching her feet. When some people arrive, Mia is rescued. They transport her to the hospital, where she gives birth. John also arrives at the hospital, and when he learns about the incident, he becomes concerned, but seeing his wife and baby makes him happy. Mia tells John she will not return to that house because this house is occupied by powerful satanic forces. After hearing Mia, John agrees, and they relocate to a new apartment. Mia and John are having the time of their lives and decide to name their daughter Leech. Mia discovers Annabelle doll in a box while unpacking their belongings from the old house. John is taken aback when he sees this doll. He inquires of Mia, how did this doll get here? He'd thrown it in the trash himself. He requests it once more, but Mia refuses, stating that this is a gift from John and that she will not throw it away. The satanic time then begins. When Mia falls asleep while watching TV, the television stops working. Annabelle's shadow appears at the same time. As Annabelle approaches Mia's baby, she begins to cry. Mia is startled awake by the sound of the baby crying. Mia walks outside with her baby. As she walks downstairs from her apartment, she notices 2 siblings. Brother is painting between them, and he orders her sister not to speak to Mia because she is unfamiliar to them. Mia goes to a bookstore outside the house and becomes friends with the owner. She gives Mia a book. Mia returns to her apartment and discovers a drawing of that kid on the stairs. The first drawing depicts the mother and her small baby, while the last depicts the baby's death in a car accident. Mia notices it and shares her thoughts with John. On it, he states that he will file a complaint against the parents of these children. Strange things begin to happen to Mia while she waits for John for dinner the next night. When Mia turns off the music player, it is automatically restarted. Following that, the stitching machine begins automatically. Mia notices a young girl at the same time. Mia inquires, "Who is she?" The little girl then dashes towards Mia. At first glance, she appears to be attacking Mia while transforming into Annabelle. Mia is terrified as she faces it and hears the horrible walking sound from the top floor. When Mia tells John everything, he initially dismisses it as hallucination but later agrees to meet with father. Mia's father does not take her seriously, but Mia was experiencing uncontrollable paranormal occurrences. Mia then goes to the basement of the building, where she discovers a large nailed Satan, and it hurts Mia by attacking her with its nails. She tries to flee, but it hinders her. Mia takes the lift to her floor, but the lift keeps opening on the same floor. Mia tries to flee up the stairs, but Satan still pursues her. Mia, on the other hand, enters her apartment. Mia discovers no nail stain on her hand the next day while checking her wounds. She is taken aback. Then Mia summons a detective to her house and gathers information about Annabelle and the cultists. Then Mia notices a file with a photo of Annabelle's dead body and a mark on it, and it was the same mark made by Satan on Mia's hand. Mia also notices Annabelle's childhood photo. This photograph was taken of the seen girl in her home. Detective tells Mia that Annabelle and its partner Satan's goal is to slay the people and bring an end to the big power. All of their actions were in accordance with Satan's commands. Mia then goes to a bookstore and purchases a book about evil protection. Meanwhile, Mia's friend, the bookstore owner, arrives. She inquires of Mia, why is she so disturbed? Mia hesitates at first before revealing that her family is the victim of witchcraft. Hearing this, her friend informs her that it is not witchcraft, but rather the shadow of Satan. She also claims that Satan's soul will not be satisfied until innocent people are killed. Mia is trying to figure out how to get rid of Satan by reading that book. Simultaneously, Satan attempts to harm Mia's baby girl, terrifying Mia. But John arrives quickly. Calling father, John explains that they had thrown this doll in the trash, but it had mysteriously entered this house. Father informs them that Satan creates these things in order to carry out its evil activity. In this case, Annabelle doll is the source, and such Satans choose those who are capable of committing suicide, so they torture people until they are forced to commit suicide. Fathers also say that if I keep this doll in the church, its power will be weakened. Father notices the satanic power of Annabelle doll while taking it to church. Annabelle the demon appears at the exact moment Father enters the church with the doll. Taking Annabelle from there causes harm to Father. Mia's bookstore owner friend Evelyn, on the other hand, assists Mia by accompanying her. She, too, contributes to Lee's care. Father is then admitted to the hospital. Coming to, he says he has also seen Annabelle's demon, which took the doll from there. Father also informs her that its goal is to take her life. Lee, as a small child, is unable to take her own life, so her life is in danger. Hearing it, John becomes agitated, and he immediately attempts to contact Mia, but in vain due to these satanic powers. Meanwhile, Mia's door is being knocked on. Mia opens the door to find Father standing on the doorstep. But he is not Father in reality, but a Satan disguised as Father who has come to frighten her. Mia then hears her daughter sobbing. She looks everywhere for her daughter but cannot find her. Evelyn says on it that we should leave and that Lee will be found later. The dreadful walking sounds are heard once more from the top floor, and Satan reappears, throwing both of them out of the floor with its evil powers, and the door is magically shut. Mia searches for her daughter everywhere but to no avail. Mia notices Annabelle doll and wonders, what does it want? Then she receives the signal to enter Lee's room. As Mia enters the room, the written text on the roof reads, "They need Lee's soul." In place of Lee, there is a satanic doll in the baby cradle. Mia is irritated by Satan, and she is constantly crying. She begs Satan to return her daughter to her. Hearing her, Satan responds that if it does not take Lee's soul, Mia will have to sacrifice her soul in exchange. A window suddenly opens, revealing a hint. Mia is willing to give up her soul in order to save her daughter. Mia is about to jump out the window with this doll in her lap when John and Evelyn arrive. Mia is guided by John not to act in this manner, but Mia was willing to go to any length for the sake of her daughter. She is about to leap, but John intervenes. Evelyn and John try everything to make her happy, but she claims that Satan has kidnapped her daughter, and it will return her on one condition: it must take Mia's soul. Hearing this, Evelyn grabs the satanic doll and leaps out the window, sacrificing her life. This sacrifice allows John John and Mia to reclaim their daughter. 6 months later, John and Mia inform father that everything is fine. That satanic doll is no longer in front of them. However, no police officers discovered the doll. The Annabelle doll is then displayed in a shop where an elderly lady purchases it to give to her daughter, and the film concludes with it.